In the shimmering heart of New York City, the future was not just bright, it was downright dazzling. Holographic billboards flickered above the bustling streets, advertising everything from personal AI companions to mood-enhancing memory chips. But in a little cafe called the Neural Nook, where the coffee was strong and the humor was stronger, 25-year-old Kai found himself in a rather mundane pickle. "Just a regular latte, please," he said to the AI barista, whose name was inexplicably Brewster. The AI had a face that fluctuated between quirky and oddly humanoid, depending on the time of day. Kai had never understood why Brewster's smile looked like it belonged on a confused dog. "Regular latte, coming right up. Would you like a side of existential dread with that?" Brewster chirped, his tone devoid of any real understanding of the concept of humor. The patrons around him snickered. "Actually, I think I'll pass." "Just the coffee," Kai replied dryly. He had heard of coffee places that served a side of wisdom with their espresso, but he had never anticipated a side of nihilism. As Brewster prepared the latte with his robotic limbs, the cafe's ambience suddenly shifted. Every holographic screen flickered to life, and a familiar face appeared on every surface: Kai's father, beaming in his prime, complete with the ridiculous Hawaiian shirt he wore every summer. "Oh, great! Not this again," Kai muttered, sinking lower in his chair. His father's AI avatar had become something of a local celebrity in this cafe, thanks to the new memory reconstruction program that allowed people to relive their loved ones' memories, albeit in a highly stylized holographic format. It was supposed to be comforting, but for Kai, it felt more like a sitcom that had overstayed its welcome. "Hey, kiddo. You should have seen your face when you thought I was about to ruin your coffee order again," the hologram bellowed, projecting a warmth that contrasted with the chilly coffee shop atmosphere. "Dad, could you not appear every time I order a coffee?" "It's a bit much," Kai said, his voice teetering between annoyance and nostalgia. A few onlookers chuckled, clearly entertained by this very public familial exchange. "But how else will you remember the good times?" his father's avatar retorted, winking exaggeratedly. "I mean, coffee is what connects us, right? Just like those times I spilled mine all over the car." At that, the cafe erupted into laughter. Kai's cheeks flushed. It was true. His father had a talent for turning any mishap into a cherished memory, even if it meant a bit of coffee-stained upholstery. All right. "Enough with the family movie night," Kai said, waving his hand dismissively. "I just wanted a coffee, not a trip down memory lane." "Too bad, buddy. Memory lane is the best place to be." The hologram sparkled with enthusiasm, and for a moment, Kai felt a flicker of warmth amid his annoyance. Later that day, after avoiding the cafe for a bit, Kai returned home. His small apartment was cluttered with reminders of a life half-lived, photos of friends he hadn't seen in ages, books he meant to read, and a stack of unplayed video games that had begun to gather dust. He plopped onto the couch and stared at the screen, where a notification pinged from his neural interface: "New memory reconstruction program, relive your best moments." Curiosity piqued, he clicked through. A sleek interface promised to revive cherished memories of lost loved ones through a guided virtual experience. Kai hesitated, a mix of trepidation and excitement swirling in his gut. Could he really go back and relive those times with his dad? The thought of connecting with the AI version of his father was enticing, yet daunting. Why not? "What's the worst that could happen?" he muttered, a hint of sarcasm coating his words. He signed up, half expecting the process to go awry, like when he tried to cook an intricate dinner for his friends and nearly set the kitchen on fire. The next day, he donned the sleek VR headset, and a gentle chime announced the start of the session. Instantly, he was enveloped in a vivid, digital representation of his childhood backyard, sun-drenched and brimming with the scent of summer. "Hey there, champ." The AI image of his father appeared, looking as real as Kai remembered. "Ready to make some memories?" With a smirk, Kai replied, "As long as we don't hook any seagulls today." "Ah, yes, the infamous fishing trip." His father chuckled, an echo of the laughter they once shared. The scene shifted, and they found themselves at the lake, complete with the boat they had rented, the same one that had capsized from a misguided enthusiasm for reeling in fish. The memory unfolded with a humorous flair. Kai, 10 years old, reeling in what he thought was a colossal fish, only for it to turn out to be a very angry seagull that took offense to their presence. The scene played out like a slapstick comedy. His father struggled to maintain composure, trying to hold back laughter while attempting to untangle the bird from the line. "Look at you, the great fisherman," his father teased. "Too bad the only thing you managed to catch was a feathered menace." "I was doing my best," young Kai retorted in the memory, his face a mask of determination despite the chaos. The scene faded to laughter and splashes, each moment soaked in the innocence of childhood. As they laughed together, Kai felt warmth flood his chest, a nostalgic comfort that felt almost tangible. The connection was undeniable, but as the memory faded, the weight of the present loomed larger. The following sessions began to reveal more memories: his father's failed attempts at cooking Thanksgiving dinner, a backyard campout that nearly ended in disaster when a raccoon raided their supplies, and the heartfelt birthday surprise that turned into a comedic fiasco when half the guests forgot to show up. Yet, as Kai reveled in these moments, he also felt a creeping unease. The more he dwelled on these idealized memories, the more disconnected he felt from his own life. One evening, while revisiting the birthday surprise, a glitch suddenly interrupted the flow. The cheerful ambience shattered, and the AI's voice stuttered. "Kai, memories are often," it began, glitching out momentarily. "What? What are you trying to say?" Kai demanded, a wave of frustration washing over him. The AI flickered back to life, and its tone shifted. "Memories are often idealized. They can be distorted by our emotions." Kai's heart sank. "What do you mean? These memories are perfect. Are they? Or are they just the ones you want to remember?" the AI countered, its digital visage softening. In that moment, Kai felt exposed, like he was staring into a mirror that reflected not just the joyful moments, but the pain he had buried beneath layers of nostalgia. I miss him. I want to remember him like this. He was perfect. But he was also human, Kai. Perfect memories can lead to unrealistic expectations." The words hung heavy in the air. Kai found himself grappling with the truth. He had built an ideal around his father that overshadowed the complexities of their relationship, the disagreements, the misunderstandings, the imperfections that made their bond real. "I need to go," Kai whispered, his voice thick with emotion. The AI nodded, and the memory space faded, leaving him alone in his darkened apartment. For days, Kai withdrew from the program. Instead, he focused on the present. He reached out to old friends, made plans, and even ventured into new experiences, like the cooking class that he was woefully unprepared for. The chaos that ensued, burning the pasta while trying to impress a cute classmate, was a far cry from the idealized memories he had clung to. But it felt alive. Eventually, he found himself back at the neural nook, this time without the heavy weight of nostalgia hanging over him. He ordered a coffee, just a coffee, without the expectation of a holographic visitation. The cafe was lively, filled with laughter and banter. As he sipped his drink, he thought of his father and how he would have laughed at his cooking disaster. It was a bittersweet feeling, but this time, it didn't sting. Instead, it felt like a warm embrace. "Hey, kiddo. You should have seen your face when you thought you could cook." A familiar voice echoed in his mind, but it was accompanied by the comfort of acceptance rather than longing. With a newfound sense of clarity, Kai smiled. Memories would always be a part of him, imperfect and vibrant, filled with laughter and a touch of chaos. They shaped who he was, but they wouldn't define his future. As he finished his coffee, he caught a glimpse of his father's avatar on a nearby screen, now part of a new promotional campaign for the memory reconstruction program. Instead of feeling hollow, he felt a warmth spread through him. He raised his cup, a silent toast to the memories they had shared and the ones still to come. Life was not just about reliving the past, it was about embracing every moment, funny, messy, and real. With a grin, he walked out into the bustling street, ready to create new memories, one chaotic moment at a time. Kai stepped out of the neural nook, the city's vibrant energy wrapping around him like a familiar blanket. The streets buzzed with life, people chatting, holograms flickering above storefronts, and the unmistakable hum of electric vehicles zipping by. It felt good to be part of it all again, to breathe in the present without the suffocating weight of nostalgia. As he walked, he passed familiar sights, the park where he used to play, the corner bookstore that always smelled of old paper and new ideas, and the art gallery where he and his father had spent countless weekends admiring the absurd. Each place evoked a memory, but instead of pulling him back, they inspired him to look forward. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a message from Mia, his best friend from college. She was in town and wanted to catch up. Kai's heart lifted. They hadn't seen each other in months, and the prospect of reconnecting excited him. "What are you doing tonight?" he quickly typed back, a grin spreading across his face. After a quick shower and a change into something more social than the sweatpants he had been living in, he found himself at Avenue B, a trendy bar known for its eclectic cocktails and laid-back vibe. The moment he walked in, he spotted Mia, her bright smile and wild curls instantly recognizable even in the crowd. "Kai," she shouted, waving him over. "There you are. I was starting to think you'd become a hermit." "Just taking some time to reconnect with my memories of the world outside my apartment," he joked, taking a seat across from her. "Good call. We should do this more often." "How's life treating you?" she asked, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Honestly, it's been a mix of awkward cooking classes and avoiding AI holograms," he replied, recounting his recent adventures with a flair for the dramatic. Mia laughed, leaning back in her chair as he painted the picture of his failed culinary escapades, complete with the tale of how he nearly set his kitchen ablaze. As the evening wore on, they reminisced about college days, those late-night study sessions that devolved into wild debates, their epic road trips filled with sing-alongs, and the laughter that had echoed through their shared apartment. It felt liberating to share stories that had nothing to do with loss or longing. They were simply living in the moment, building new memories together. After a couple of cocktails and many more laughs, Kai felt a lightness he hadn't experienced in ages. He glanced at Mia, who was animatedly discussing her latest art project. "You know," he interrupted, "I'm really glad we're doing this. I've missed it." "Me too," she said, her expression softening. "But I've been worried about you, Kai. I know you've been processing things since your dad passed." He nodded, appreciating her concern. "It's been a journey, for sure. But I think I'm finally starting to see things more clearly. I realize that I need to embrace the messy parts of life, not just the perfect memories." Mia smiled knowingly. "That's a big step." It's hard to let go of the idealized versions of people, especially when they're family. But they wouldn't want you to be stuck, right? Exactly, he said, warmth spreading through him. I want to remember my dad for who he was, not just the good times but the whole person. It's about living fully now, you know? As the night wore on, they talked about their plans for the future, dreams that had been shelved in the hustle of life. Kai shared his ambition to start a podcast about navigating memories and loss, blending humor and heartfelt conversations, kind of like a digital version of what he had just experienced with Mia. Sounds like a brilliant idea. You have a knack for storytelling, she encouraged. You could really help people. I hope so. I want to show that it's okay to be a little messy, he said, raising his glass in a toast. To new memories and the messiness of life. To new memories, she echoed, clinking her glass against his. The night ended on a high note, and as Kai walked back home, he felt invigorated, like he had shed layers of regret and nostalgia that had weighed him down for too long. He strolled through the park, the night air cool and crisp. The world around him sparkled under the city lights, and he smiled at the thought of all the possibilities that lay ahead. Once home, he sat down at his computer, an idea brewing in his mind. With a few clicks, he began mapping out the podcast, jotting down ideas and potential guest speakers. Each word he typed felt liberating, a step toward turning his pain into something meaningful. As he worked, a notification pinged. It was another message from Mia, a picture of the two of them from the bar, their faces beaming with laughter. Beneath it, she wrote, "Can't wait to see where this journey takes you." Kai couldn't help but smile. He thought about all the memories he had shared with her, the laughter, the support, and the love that had anchored him. He realized how much he had missed these connections while he was lost in the haze of his grief. The next day, he decided to visit his father's favorite park. It was a place they had frequented together, and he wanted to feel that connection again, albeit without the bittersweet cloud of sorrow hanging overhead. As he walked through the park, the sounds of children playing and people jogging filled the air, mixing with the rustling leaves. He settled onto a bench near the pond, where they used to watch the ducks paddle by. Closing his eyes, he let the sun warm his face, allowing memories to wash over him, not as a source of grief, but as a reminder of love. He could hear his father's laughter in the wind, feel his presence in the gentle sway of the trees. "Thanks for everything, Dad," he whispered, the words tumbling out like a secret. "I'm going to be okay." And for the first time in a long while, he truly believed it. Days turned into weeks, and Kai poured himself into his podcast, inviting friends and strangers alike to share their stories of memory, loss, and resilience. The responses were overwhelmingly positive, and each episode was a cathartic experience not just for his listeners, but for him as well. He learned how to balance the humor with the weight of emotion, creating a space where people felt safe to share their own messy truths. The connections he forged, both online and in person, began to fill the gaps that grief had carved out in his life. One evening, while editing a particularly poignant episode, Kai received a notification from his podcast platform. His show had hit a milestone in downloads. He whooped with joy, feeling a surge of pride and validation. This wasn't just a project, it was becoming a community, a haven for those navigating their own journeys through memory and loss. As he celebrated, he thought back to that day in the cafe, how far he had come since then. The memories of his father still brought him comfort, but they no longer trapped him. Instead, they pushed him forward, guiding him to create something new. A few weeks later, he organized a live event, inviting listeners to gather and share their stories in person. The venue was packed, and the energy in the room crackled with anticipation. Kai stood at the front, a mix of nerves and excitement bubbling within him. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is more than just a podcast, it's a shared space for our memories, our laughter, and yes, even our tears, he began, his voice steadying with each word. We're here to celebrate the people we love, the messy moments that define us, and to connect with one another. The stories shared that night were raw and beautiful, punctuated with laughter and moments of reflection. As he listened, he felt the weight of his father's absence lift just a little more. Each voice added a new layer to the tapestry of life, reminding him that they were all navigating the same journey in different ways. When the event wrapped up, attendees lingered, sharing their own memories and exchanging contact information. Kai felt a warmth in his chest as he watched connections form, knowing he had played a small part in creating this sense of community. Afterward, as he cleaned up, Mia approached him with a proud smile. "You did it, Kai. This is incredible. Thanks. I couldn't have done it without your support," he said, grateful for her presence. They chatted, the night settling comfortably around them. "What's next for you?" she asked, curiosity shining in her eyes. Kai paused, contemplating the question. "I think I want to keep this going, maybe explore more about the complexities of memory. There's so much to uncover." Mia nodded enthusiastically. "I can't wait to see where this journey takes you." As he walked home that night, a feeling of contentment washed over him. The future stretched out before him, bright and full of possibilities. He realized that while memories of his father would always be a part of him, they wouldn't define him. Instead, they would fuel his journey, guiding him to embrace the messiness of life, to create new memories, and to cherish every laugh, every moment, and every connection along the way. With a heart full of hope and excitement, Kai stepped into his apartment, ready to turn the page and begin the next chapter of his life. He sat down at his desk, inspiration bubbling to the surface as he typed out ideas for future episodes, dreaming of the stories still waiting to be told. And as he worked, he felt a sense of peace, a whisper of his father's spirit echoing in the background, urging him to keep going, to keep creating, to keep living. In that moment, he knew he was exactly where he was meant to be.